Welcome to Manchester, the fastest growing major city in the UK and the third most popular tourist destination. Once the first industrialised city, it is now a thriving, multicultural and creative hive. Priding itself on its diverse communities, it is home to a long-established Chinatown. With 2.7% of its population coming from Chinese ethnicities and the large number of Chinese students flocking to the universities here every year, it is no wonder Manchester boasts the third largest Chinese population in Europe. And this can all be reflected in this year's Chinese New Year celebrations. 2014 was host to the largest celebrations in Manchester to date. Festivities were hosted all around the city, spanning 4 days from the 31st of January to the 3rd of February. Marketing for the events was also stepped up, as this was the first time posters were seen on bus stops and billboards in the run-up to this. But how traditional actually are these celebrations? Is it now more of a marketing ploy, and has the real meaning of Chinese New Year gotten lost in translation? So this year is the year of the horse. The horse is one of the 12-year cycle of animals which appear in the Chinese zodiac related to the Chinese calendar. The Chinese zodiac is important to the Chinese culture due to the animal signs being used for years in old stories and folklore. Still, even today, millions in China believe these predictions and superstitions that are described. Some have even based their relationships according to it. So let's look at where it all began. How did Manchester's Chinatown become what it is today? The beautiful and iconic Chinese arch was a gift from Manchester City Council to the Chinese community and was specifically built in China and shipped over in 3 containers in 1987. But it was in the 1950s and 1960s that Chinese immigration expanded rapidly in Britain. This was partly due to the unstable politics and post-war unemployment in the country at the time, but also due to the huge surge of immigrants coming to Britain in the 1950s from the Commonwealth. Manchester's Chinatown beginnings are rooted in the restaurant business. However, with its growth, more Chinese businesses cropped up, expanding the area, and supermarkets began to open around the confines of Charlotte Street, Portland Street and Princess Street. And now it is hailed as the second largest Chinatown in Britain after London's. So, being hailed as the largest Chinese New Year celebrations Manchester has seen, let's look at what was in store. We spoke to the Chinese Centre for Contemporary Arts to see what they had to contribute.
So my name's Lydia, I'm based in Manchester. I'm a surface pattern designer, so I design wallpaper and fashion fabrics. I'm also a workshop facilitator, so I do a lot of workshops with the public, from Chinese crafts to anything really. Well, the project's in response to Chinese New Year, obviously it's the year of the horse. It had to be like public participatory, so we designed the 2 big lanterns that the public can come in and create the horse silhouettes to go on the lanterns. So the idea is when the lights are off and it's darker in here, they create galloping horse shadows on the wall. And then the horse puppets, we've been doing with school groups and members of the public and adult groups as well, so they come in and they could personalise it however they like to create a wall of puppets.
So there they are, getting children involved and teaching them the zodiac and the meaning behind the year of the horse in a fun and creative way. But how are others preparing for the Chinese New Year? Here in the city centre we can see small local businesses from Chinatown setting up stalls with authentic Chinese cuisine and souvenirs. But then in comparison we have larger companies capitalising on the celebrations, advertising where they can. You can't help but get the feeling it's all a little bit like a tourist attraction.
please give a very warm welcome to Mei Mei as she plays the Chinese zither.
So it is clear to see the massive effort put in by the whole community, educating and bringing people together. This is the side of the celebrations that really encapsulates a sense of enthusiasm for the Chinese culture. But let's look to the Manchester Art Gallery now and see what they had in store.
Yeah, I think it's important to educate people about Chinese culture so that we're all working on an equal playing field. Chinese people who live here learn English culture, and as I said before, we've got a huge resource. We can learn a lot about Chinese culture, and it makes us all richer people as a city. So here in the art gallery, the Chinese New Year celebrations are, as in the rest of the city, on Sunday the 2nd of February. We'll be kicking off with our first performance at 12:30, although the gallery is open at midday, from midday onwards, until 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So we have a fairly full programme. We will run through right till 4 o'clock, but we're also fitting in with an opportunity for people to go and watch the dragon dance come past outside at 1 o'clock. And then the Chinese lion dancers will be coming into the gallery at the end of the afternoon. So it's always fun for the children and everybody, but children particularly. But it's kind of, the culture tends to be quite, as a lot of cultures in Manchester, they operate almost separately, and I think it's really important that people of Manchester realise the depth and richness of the culture that is out there on their doorstep and don't have to travel to China to find it all.
So you can see it is important to educate people in Chinese culture and immersing them in their traditions, history and arts. On the final day of the celebrations, people flock to the city centre for the famous Dragon Parade. The dragon dance is a form of traditional dance and performance in Chinese celebration. The dance team mimics the supposed movements of this river spirit. In China, dragons are believed to bring good luck to people. Therefore, the longer the dragon in the dance, the more luck it will bring to the community. Manchester has put on a remarkable show. We can see that it brought people together and encourages people to learn and try new things. We've spoken to those involved, but let's now speak to someone who grew up in the midst of Chinese culture and celebrated Chinese New Year with his family and see what he thinks of the celebrations.
Yeah, I went to Hong Kong in the past, so there it's a lot more festive. There's a lot more tradition going on, so you see the culture behind it. Whereas here it's just more like family based, so it's not really like as big as it could be in a sense.
In Manchester?
And celebrations in Manchester are quite tourist, like attracting tourists and locals, like showing them the tradition about it and what actually goes on. But I kind of just see it as people, it's just getting tourists to come in and see what it's like in Chinatown and showing the culture itself. So it's cool, but it's like no one sees what's behind like closed doors and what actually happens between families and stuff.
When looking around, we can see what Nick is referring to. You can't seem to shake the feeling that you are at a fairground, and it all doesn't quite seem authentic. In China, normally the celebration will start from the New Year's Eve and will last for around 15 days until the middle of the first month. Before the celebration, people normally do a complete cleaning of the house and put on the traditional New Year decoration. Family reunion is the most important part of the Chinese New Year celebration. So there we have it, Chinese New Year 2014. What a spectacular celebration, but one can't help but feel it has been westernised. It was a joyous occasion and a fantastic opportunity for those to learn more about Chinese culture. It has of course given businesses the opportunity to market themselves, but it also allows everyone to get involved. Traditionally, it is a time of family, good fortune to others and new beginnings. The celebrations in Manchester only scratch the surface of what Chinese New Year truly is about, but it allows people a glimpse and shows Manchester's recognition and support of the Chinese community.